Okay, so now that we've sort of composed, we've got our chord progression, we've got our top melody, now we're going to kind of create the sound around it. So we've got all the musical part there, it's all done. Sounds nice in the piano, but then now what we're going to do is go through the different layers of creating that big sort of festival lead sound with lots of saw waves, and we're going to use, and I'm basically going to break it down into different parts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in a stack of lead sounds that I use on a lot of my own records as like a base point for making the leads. I add variation to each track, but it's a good starting point. It's kind of got all the layers needed, and I'm going to break them down in this track. So let's go to here, and then I'm going to bring up this lead stack. So there we go. So I've already put this lead in. So you can kind of hear what it sounds like all stacked up. I still need to tweak this, but you'll get the idea. So okay, a lot of reverb going off there as well. And then, so we're going to go through this. So we've got this vibrato lead. Now, I love using vibrato on my melodies to kind of add a bit of character to it. And I'll show you what I mean. So doesn't sound like anything special, but we can add vibrato to this by this is lead in silent, and it's just almost a default preset. But what you do is you can apply an LFO to the pitch control. So you go to LFO 1, you apply it to the pitch, and you put only a little bit in terms of the amount that you apply, and you want a tiny bit, otherwise it'll just send the lead pitch all over the place. You want it just a little bit, and then you automate the gain on it, so how much the LFO is affecting it. So you can do basically this with it. So if I go into here, I can do this. So we want to kind of do this on some of the longer notes, or even on the short ones, but it's very subtle effect. So you can kind of hear, if you want to hear it really intense, it kind of like pitches it, and kind of like, it just adds a bit of character to it, and kind of makes it stand out a little bit from just having static notes. So it works well on those end notes. So let's duplicate that across. We want this one. Paste that there on the long. And we want it there and there, I'd say, and there. So there. I'll duplicate this across as well. So I've just duplicated that automation off by just selecting it and then just pressing Command D. Okay, that's the vibrato lead. Now there's a lot of processing on there. Some of it's not even in use, so I'm going to clear some of this off. So what we've got here is the Waves Maserati plugin, which kind of like, I'll show you the before and after. So with that off, it sounds like this. Okay. Kind of adds a lot more character to it, thickens it up. It's a great plugin actually. You can use this on multiple layers, single layers. And it kind of adds that extra level of character to sounds that wouldn't otherwise be there. And the second sound is like a big roomy sound. What I like about this sound is it makes really good use of the reverb, the plate reverb built into Spire, which is really, really good. So if you want a good reverb on your lead, copy these reverb settings because they work really well. And what it does is, as you can hear, it dips in and out between the notes, so you've kind of got the note going off, and then in between the notes the reverb kind of like blows out between them, and it adds this like really like epic kind of level to it. It sounds really good, and it just makes the lead sound fatter overall. Each note kind of like sucks into one another. It's cool. And you can apply that reverb effect to pretty much any sound. I mean, this is just a basic saw with this reverb on, so I definitely recommend making a note of those settings and just applying it to whatever sounds you've got. Next is like more of a detuned saw sound. That's in Nexus, which is one of the big room presets in the EDM pack, but you can get these in like any stand. Just you want to get a stack of like a saw wave and just detune it. This kind of gives adds to the body of the lead. So if you notice the chords are in there, these other notes is just the top notes, the actual melody itself. whereas this is more like the actual body and the thickness to the overall lead. So after that, we've got the trance saw, which is kind of like a non-detuned saw. It's kind of got more tonality to it. It kind of like adds, it's got more of a musical sound to it. In terms of processing, we've got the Maserati GTI plugin on it again as well, adding that extra sort of crunching character to it. And then I've got a Pro Q on there, just getting rid of those bottom end and bringing out the mids, because the mids is where the musical sound is, and we want that to really come out and shine there. And on the end, I've also got a piano lead. So what I love about using a piano is as a layer in your leads is there's so much tonality to a piano. It's just tone. You want those chords to really punch through in your lead, and a piano will just do that. A lot of low end in a piano as well, which you don't want. So I recommend getting rid of those. We've got the lead sort of like stacked up now. This is kind of what I use as a bass point. Now you can add other stuff to this. One thing it's definitely missing right now is like a bass sound, because the lead needs to have some low end to it to really punch through when it pops in, which is what I like to do. So I like to get like a pluck that's got a bit of low end. I think I've got like a, let's have a look, Pride of bass. Yeah, this is like a bass sound used in something more like a progressive house record. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these leads down, and I'm just going to get the bottom notes. So let's solo that. This is what it sounds like. So we only want the root notes, which are the bass keys. It's kind of chorded a little bit as well. I think it's even like a fifth or seventh or something. Where is it running at? It's a fifth. So it's actually kind of slightly chorded, because one of the octaves in this preset is -5 semitones. So it kind of acts as like a fifth. It's kind of nice. So with that on the lead, it sounds something like this. I'm still hearing a bit of mid character to this lead. It still sounds a bit too sawtoothy at the moment, which is nice, but it still lacks a bit of sort of character. So I think a really good sound actually to kind of add to that would be like a nice trancey kind of pluck. So let's go into Silent. I've got some good plucks in there. Let's have a look. So we go into Silent. Let's go into the Definitive pack. This has got loads of sounds in it. I recommend purchasing this if you want some good silent sounds. And we'll go to some plucks. So we want, actually, a good sound I quite like is Euphoric Plug. It's a really trancey pluck sound. I'm just going to get rid of some of the reverb and delay in Silent, because it will bleed into the rest of the mix and make things clogged up a bit. So let's bring that down. I think maybe I can hear a lot of separation between these top notes and bottom notes, which I don't really want as much. I'm just gonna... There's a little more, you can hear that character starting to come through a bit better now. I can improve this a little bit more with some EQ. What we got? Okay, so one thing I also like to do with leads, especially when you've got leads, I've got a lot of reverb on them, especially that plate reverb, is you need to control it, and you don't want those reverbs to bleed over. So we're going to use the utility built into Ableton, which has a volume knob. You can automate the volume gain, etc. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the gain right down. So if you hear it now, you can't hear anything apart from the bass. So what I want to do is automate the on and off. So when that lead finishes, I don't want any reverb bleed, so it's off right now. And then when it ends, the utility will kick in and just cut the audio, which stops it from bleeding over to the next part of the song, like that. And it just helps you control your mixes really easily with a lot of reverb going on. So that is our lead stack.